Hello and welcome to my review of the third week from the English Premier League. And let's discuss a game that happened about a week ago at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea vs Aston Villa. The game finished Chelsea 2, Aston Villa 1. So Chelsea started the game very fast, very high tempo, and obviously controlling the majority of the possession, which granted Eden Hazard a shot on Brad Guzen's goal, and it actually deflected off Antonio Luna and found the back of the net. I found this very interesting stat that in Villa's last 23 games, they haven't been able to secure a clean sheet, and this takes us all the way back to December of 2012 when they versed Stoke. So I thought that was quite an interesting statistic for you guys. The Villa goal, it involved the main man himself, Christian Benteke. It was just before the half, and Villa were really in the game then. It was quite a dogfight between two teams that wanted to get the 3 points. Braslan Ivanovic's elbow on Benteke, I've seen the replays. It should have been a red card. It wasn't. It made Villa even more unsatisfied when he actually scored the goal, the winning goal, and rubbed a bit of salt into the wounds. Eden Hazard for me was man of the match. Now in the second season, he's shown that he actually has the quality and the desire and the passion and the skills to equal his £32 million transfer to Chelsea, and he was fantastic in this game. Basically, Chelsea held on the end. Villa were valiant, and as I've said before, Villa will be a tough team to face this week. And yeah, that was the first game of this week. At the Etihad Stadium, the next game was Manchester City versus Hull City. Hull were very, very prolific in the first couple of minutes. They had a lot of chances. There was a one-on-one which they missed, and Danny Graham was actually caught offside. However, neither team really dominated the possession, although it was a fairly open game. Hull were really resistant to Manchester City and defended in 4-5-1, basically clogged up the midfield. City, even though this happened, their quality did shine through, and they had a couple of chances, and then they increased the pressure late in the first half to try and get a goal. They didn't succeed. Man City came out in the second half after Pellegrini probably said that their efforts in the first half wasn't good enough, and they dominated the possession, leading to Alvaro Negredo. This is the first goal, which was 1-0, and then after that, really, Man City tried to kick on, and they actually succeeded with and got a second goal with Yaya Toure, another free kick, similar to the one which he scored against Newcastle in the very first week. I highly suggest you guys check out this one as well. It's another fantastic free kick. The dip to get it over the wall and under the crossbar was absolutely superb. But Hull City, they should be very happy with their performance. Steve Bruce has got a really good team, and I think they can survive. They deserved more, and they created a lot of chances. However, they need to be better in the final third, and I think this will happen if they get another striker just to complement or give something different to Danny Graham. We'll head to Wales now, where Cardiff took on Everton in a 0-0 goalless draw game. Cardiff City, after last week's magical win against Manchester City, they pressed Everton very high, and this really made Everton have a lot of the possession, but it was very slow and a lot side to side, and this just shows that Cardiff City, they're very well organised defensively, and this caused both teams to have very few chances. Everton, again, were dominant on the left side of their play with Pienaar and Baines. Baines getting forward. And should have Baines got a penalty, if you've guys seen it? I think he should have. I think that was a penalty. He was brought down. It wasn't a dive. And I think Everton can feel hard done by that. Anyway, in the second half, Cardiff started more positively. They had more possession. And this caused the game to open up. It was end-to-end stuff. Both teams had chances. They couldn't take them, really. Everton tried to push for their first win, but Cardiff, obviously at home, they were happy to settle for a draw. And on a relatively minor point, my younger brother, an Everton fan, he really believes that in order for Everton to do well under Roberto Martinez, they must sign. He's picked 3 players that they should sign, any one of them. Antonio Di Natale, which personally is a long shot. Aidan McGeady to give pace and tricks on the wing, and the most realistic one, in my opinion, is Victor Moses, who they can loan out from Chelsea and nab him under their rival Liverpool's nose, because I think both teams are in for him. But yeah, my younger brothers identified those three players for Everton and Roberto Martinez to do well, and I tend to agree with him because they looked very unorganised and not as sharp in the final third as they did under David Moyes. So I think it'll take a bit of time, and they will need to bring in players in the last couple of hours of the transfer window to help them reach the potential and the heights that a club like Everton deserve to, and really should. Moving on to St James's Park, where Newcastle took on Fulham, and this game wasn't a very interesting game, apart for one player, Hatem Ben Arfa, who was clearly the star player and the man of the match in this game. When they brought Yohan Cabaye on, unlike Wayne Rooney and Manchester United, where they really got behind him, he got booed when he was on the pitch, and it wasn't a very good response from the Newcastle United fans towards Yohan Cabaye, or Kebab as Jokineer calls him. Anyway, Fulham really sat deep, and they invited Newcastle to really play through them, and I think this was Martin Jol's tactic, to really just go to Newcastle and get a draw. And Newcastle, they seemed quite incapable to do so. They didn't know what to do. With Fulham were really sitting deep, inviting them, wanting them to try and play through them. And Newcastle United, they really couldn't. The game opened up in the second half and it became quite even. Newcastle, obviously, as you guys may have guessed it, they did increase the pressure in front of their home fans, and this led to the Hatem Ben Arfa stunning goal. He took the ball basically on the right wing, which is for him because his left foot is his favourite position. He cuts in, does a little shimmy, beats one player, beats another, and basically curves a nice rocket ball into the top left-hand corner and giving Newcastle the win. And that game finished Newcastle United 1, Fulham 0. Let's head back to London, where West Ham took on Stoke City. West Ham, compared to other weeks, were very poor, and I personally identified that they do need a strike force, because without Andy Carroll, they had no ideas, and they really lacked creativity up front, and that's surprising since they do have Jarvis and Downing. But in my opinion, they relied too heavily on Andy Carroll. This game finished West Ham 0, Stoke City 1, and the goal for Stoke City was another very good free kick. It was taken by Jermaine Pennant, a really nice curving ball into the top right-hand corner. Jaskalainen stood no chance. And the key to this game was that Stoke dominated the midfield, and the player that really was the man of the match was Steven Nzonzi. He broke up West Ham's play, then he allowed Stoke to pressure and counter-attack in the midfield, and the fans were very happy and showed that with Mark Hughes' team putting on a good performance and getting a really solid away win. So I was wrong about Stoke City, and I don't think they should be taken lightly. Moving on to Carrow Road, where Norwich took on Southampton, and this game finished Norwich 1, Southampton 0. Southampton did miss a lot of opportunities, and there was a questionable penalty for a handball, which the referee did miss. Norwich also created a fair few chances, and they were the stronger team in the first half. However, when Mauricio Pochettino's team came out of the dugout in the second half, it was Southampton that really started the second half off brighter. Osvaldo, their new signing, he had a couple of chances, and really they got caught on the counter. Osvaldo had a couple of chances, he missed both of them, and this led Southampton to get caught on the counter attack. And basically, at the end, Norwich's Robert Snodgrass, he missed a penalty. However, thankfully, Norwich were 1-0 up at the time thanks to Nathan Redmond's cracking goal. It was a near-post goal. EA Sports would be very proud of that, but it was a great goal. He came in on his right foot, and it was a rocket, and the Southampton goalkeeper stood no chance, and it gave Norwich a win in front of their home fans. And again, Norwich City here are coming up good. They had a few concerns with not scoring enough goals last season, but this campaign, they've already started off very brightly and are a very good team and shouldn't be taken lightly. In the next game, Crystal Palace took on Sunderland, and that game finished Crystal Palace 3, Sunderland 1. Palace were really the stronger team, and this was shown through their first goal. Sunderland, however, after the first half, they got an equaliser back through Danny Graham. However, Sunderland didn't look very strong, and indeed they were actually counter-attacked a fair bit during this game. Dwight Gale's penalty was a very good penalty, and the reason for that was John O'Shea brought him down in the box. John O'Shea got sent off, and basically it was a great game for Palace and a great game for Ian Holloway. They showed that they're a fighting club and they won't give up, and they made Sunderland look a very poor team. It was 3 vital points for Crystal Palace, and I think if they can make their home a fortress and the fans get behind them when they're versing, teams that are going to be around them at home, I think they can actually possibly, if everything goes their way, survive. However, with Sunderland, just looking at them, I'm not sure what to make of them yet. They've brought in basically a whole new squad, and I've said before, it's going to take time for them to gel, but Paolo Di Canio and the leaders in that club, then I'm not really 100% sold on how well they're going to do this campaign, and I think they may struggle towards the end when they could be facing relegation battle. The next game was basically, arguably, the second biggest game this week, where at Anfield it saw Liverpool take on Manchester United, and the game finished Liverpool 1, Manchester United 1. Now I'll give you guys basically one of the easiest questions of all time. Who do you think scored for Liverpool? That's right, it was the main man himself, Daniel Sturridge. However, I'll tell you about the game. It was a great start to Liverpool. Basically, the first half was all theirs, culminated in Sturridge's goal, which he took a flick on from, I think it was Daniel Agger. Of course, Liverpool at home, they controlled the majority of the possession, and they created a lot more chances, and United really looked lackluster. And for me, they actually sat a lot deeper than they probably should have. David Moyes took his boys in at halftime, and he probably gave them a right old spray, as they deserved it. And it showed as Manchester United started the second half really strong. They increased their pressure, trying to look for the equaliser. And as the game opened up, both teams really tried to cut down defensively, and it showed as both teams had limited chances. As United pushed on for the win and got people forward and brought in attacking players such as Javier Hernandez and Antonio Valencia, who actually played at right back, Liverpool stood really well defensively. Their shape, their form, and then their counter-attacking with, I believe it was Coutinho, Daniel Sturridge, and Luis Alberto, was really good, and it always made them look as if they were going to be a threat. So after 3 games, that's 3 victories to Liverpool and 3 clean sheets, and David Moyes could be under a little bit of pressure. In the last 8 hours, as I'm speaking right now, I think he needs to go in the transfer market and buy a couple of midfielders. I'm not going to name names because that wouldn't be right, but personally, we'll see who he signs and we'll see how they fit into David Moyes' system, because right now, I don't think United fans, as well as myself, are completely sold on how he actually is replacing the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson. The second last game of this week saw West Albion Bromwich take on Swansea, and that finished quite surprisingly, West Albion 0, Swansea 2. After watching the game, I think West Albion, they need support. Their board needs to give Stephen Clark the funds so he can buy some money. They brought in Anelka, and really he was the one that looked dangerous in this game and had a couple of chances in the opening period. But against the run of play, that's when Swansea scored their first goal, which I think was through Davis. It gave Michael Laudrup's team a lot of confidence, and really it made West Albion Bromwich look a little bit lost at home. They need quality and they need support from the board. Will they go out and spend? I believe they do. I think they need maybe not a new spine of the team, but they certainly need. They don't need people in the midfield, because the partnership of Claudio Yacob and Yusuf Malumbu is superb. They probably need a wide player who can stay wide, get crosses in the box, and cut inside as well, and give them a bit of a variation, basically a bit like Hatem Ben Arfa. But for Swansea, I predicted it was going to be 3 games and 3 losses, but they proved me wrong. Their start to this season's begun with this this 2-0 victory away, and hopefully Laudrup and his squad can get a lot of confidence for this game and really push on and reach the heights that myself, Swansea, and the players there really expected from them. Now, the biggest game this week took place at the Emirates Stadium, where Arsenal faced Tottenham Hotspur in the North London derby. And yes, thankfully for me, for many Gooners around the world, it finished Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0. We haven't spent a pound yet, and Tottenham have spent over 100, and really too bad for them because we were superb in this game. I'll talk to you about the game now. It was extremely even. It was fast-paced, exactly what you want a North London derby to be. For Arsenal, I've never seen such a great defensive effort before. When Wilshere went off and our new signing, Flamini, or Old, whatever you want, and Ramsey took partnership in that midfield, they were awesome. They broke up the play, they got their tackles in, they stopped Tottenham playing through the middle and tearing our defence to shreds, and then they counter-attacked, passing the ball to Rosicky, Cazorla, Walker, and eventually giving the ball over the top to Olivier Giroud. Talk about the goal for a bit. It was great build-up. I believe it was Ramsey to Rosicky, who played the ball out wide to Walker, who made a nice run. He then looked inside, and there was Giroud, and he did a nice ground cross, and Giroud was a fantastic finish inside of his left foot, past Hugo Lloris. I think it was for about 6 yards out, and Lloris couldn't do nothing about it. It was a great finish. For Tottenham, though, I don't want to sound all happy for their fans. For them, Andreas Townsend, another fantastic player for them, gave Kieran Gibbs, especially in the first half, all sorts of trouble and had a couple of shots on goal, but Szczesny looked very confident and was able to parry all of them away. But for Arsenal, look, I've said this before. The team that we have right now is good. It can challenge for the title, no doubt. We now need depth. We now need players to come in, right, and actually add the depth and even more quality to the squad. Now, in the last couple of hours, I've seen we've been rumoured towards Mesut Ozil, and that's a great player. That is a quality player right there. He actually leads in assists last season out of all the players in the world. So, as far as creative threats go, he will pose a massive threat to all teams if he comes to Arsenal. For Tottenham, they sold their man, Gareth Bale. He's gone to Real Madrid, and basically they've spent all the money. Daniel Levy has gone out and, in his mind, and AVB's spent the money which they thought would be good enough. But Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, I've never seen Arsene Wenger be so productive. He was up for most of the game, talking to the team, talking to the players, getting them in the right formation, and actually coaching. And it was a fantastic effort. And I think that the fans really saw this. They really saw the team want to do well, and they really got behind them. Arsenal fans are the best fans in the Premier League, even the world. They're so great. Very loud, very boisterous. We get behind the team, and it was really a great win. Now, we've got to go and spend, and if we do, and we spend rightly, and we basically continue the run of form and the confidence which we have, we will be title contenders. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it was a great win for Arsenal, and sorry Tottenham fans, but it wasn't really much of a review for you guys for this game, but too bad, we lost. It was 1-0, finished 1-0 to the Arsenal. And that wraps up this week's review from the third week of the Premier League. Now there's a 2-week international break, so I won't be making videos reviewing and previewing games for the next 2 weeks. I will be making a video, however, summarising all the teams, the transfers, the players that they bought in, and just giving my thoughts on these players. As you'll see on the screen right now, this is the table, this is how it stands. It'll be standing like this for the next 2 weeks. And yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time reviewing, previewing all the rest of the games from the English Premier League. I hope you liked the games, I hope your team won, and goodbye for now.